What if this question I am asking right this moment was the great question?
Gorgeous, baby. You're gorgeous.
This is the Josh Podcast Show, the anti-podcast podcast on God and man. The show that everybody's talking about. The show that will become a necessary part of your weekly mental diet. The show that picks up where JoshRolfe.com leaves off. The show title that uses the word podcast 4 times. Introducing your host, Josh Rolfe.
How are you? How are you today? How are you doing right this very second? Do you think this episode will improve your mood or the reverse? Why are you listening to this show right now? What do you hope to accomplish by listening to this show? Are you still listening to this show? Did you listen to the last episode? Do you remember that I was going to talk about Quora in this episode? Do you remember that I am not much of a fan of Quora, though the site has provided me with some measure of enjoyment and satisfaction, like when I asked, in what movies have Frito-Lay chips appeared? Or, is the word semicolon funny? Or my favorite, is the expression, I'm more ripped than the paper in your shredder, a good one to describe how ripped I am? What do people in Yolo County, California think of the expression YOLO? Were you aware that Quora.com is a site where anyone can ask a question? And were you aware that I have asked several questions on Quora? And not only that, did you know that Quora also has a blog feature that allows anyone to write blog posts? And was it made known to you at any point, that I once wrote a blog on the Quora site, but have since abandoned the effort because I have my own blog now at joshblogblog.com? Do you know the name of my Quora blog? Do you know its name is The Dumb Question and can be accessed at dumbq.quora.com? Do you know that the content on that blog isn't that great? In the last 3 seconds, have you wondered what I could have possibly written about on Quora? Am I about to read you one of those posts? Can you guess what the name of one of those posts is? Did you guess correctly that it's called the question post? Should I read it to you? Even though it's a little dated, written more than 4 years ago, because it talks about iPads being fairly new and how Downton Abbey was still on the air. Are you ready for me to read it to you anyway, because I have nothing left to say in this episode? Shall I begin? The question post? Are question posts effective? Will this question post be effective? Is this the only question post? Or should we begin this post differently by examining what a question post is? What is a question post? Is it simply a post that asks a question? Or does it get more complicated than that? Is a question post a post that asks a question in the header? Or could a question post ask a question in the body of the post instead of asking the question in the header? Who made up the term question post? Did I? Does it make any sense? Why did the 3rd season of Downton Abbey end the way it did? Who am I? And why am I here? Should that have been a footnote to this post? Will Quora Inc. include a footnote feature for blogs in the future? Is a question post ever answered? Should a question post ever be answered? Would Quora blog readers enjoy this line of questioning? Or did they visit Quora blogs because they were overwhelmed by the millions of questions on the main Quora site and needed to escape? If they needed to escape, are they now more overwhelmed by the questions being asked in this post? If they are, what steps can be taken to bring down their heart rate to a more sustainable level? Should they not click out of this blog post immediately? Will they understand they are being asked a passive-aggressive question and should click themselves away from this blog post now? Is clicking out even the right way of saying it these days, now that so many are using a tablet or smartphone device and would therefore tap out of or tap away from or swipe away from this post? Can someone help me know what the best terminology is, or post a Quora question that will shed light on that not insignificant question? What if I were trying to type this on my iPad? Would I be just a few sentences in? Is it not time for me to buy a Bluetooth keyboard for that device? And why did I mention that? Do I want people to know I'm an iPad user? Or am I? Was being an iPad owner more of a statement 2 years ago? Do I not hardly use the thing today? Do I not often wonder why I spent hundreds of hard-earned dollars for it? Does it not baffle me to hear friends say they use it more today than they did when they bought it? Does it not, good sir? Is this not the first time I've ever addressed my own self as a sir? Who was the last person to call me sir? Was it perhaps the telemarketer who called the other day? Can I not keep paragraphs shorter from now on? Is it possible to be passively aggressive to one's own self? Turning the tables, as only a gifted question post poster could. What do you think a question post is? And just curious, did I italicize you correctly in the previous question, or should another word have been italicized? Why can't I ever get that right? Again, should the last two questions have been a footnote to the first question in the paragraph? And do you think it should be answered? Not the italicization question, but the original question in the first question of this paragraph. Am I making any headway answering the original question, which is, what is a question post? Is there any need to answer the question? Is it worth exploring what a question post is not? Is it worth exploring what a question podcast is or is not? Or a question episode of a question podcast? Is a question post a Huffington Post? Is it not a Huffington Post? Is it similar to that kind of post? Is it neither a post nor not a post? Will the Washington Post publish this question post? Is this post not a distant cousin to http://postfoods.com, albeit inevitably inedible? Will anyone not publish this question post? Will anyone publish their own question post ever? If not, is this the end of the question post, assuming this very post is the only question post? Will this question post, blog post, ever answer the question? Could the previous question have been worded a little better? Could this entire question post wording improve? Why am I all of a sudden thinking about Dr. Seuss right now? What is the question? What is the question, you ask? Would Dr. Seuss have thrown those questions in there? What percentage of his work's lines are questions versus statements? To Dr. Seuss's question, I ask, what is a question? Am I talking both to myself and Dr. Seuss now? And should I have italicized the word is in the first sentence of the paragraph? Why am I so paranoid about punctuation? Is it because the font style is so classy that I want to use the best grammar I can? Or is it because I am scared to be alive? At what point is a question begged? Is this post crossing any of those lines? Should we take up these simple questions in future posts? How should I end this post? What if I can't end this post? Does a question post end? Who invented the question post? Is the question post an invention? Am I the inventor? Should I hurry and trademark the phrase question post, or could Quora claim the IP? Why haven't I read the terms of service before starting this blog? How will I ever earn a living? What is this world coming to? By asking, what is this world coming to, am I implying there are other worlds? Are questions the new answers?